All right, Steve, did I beat you? You did 2 seconds. I did less than that. And Shali, if I come back, will you have them hold up signs and say we love Prime Minister
You're just starting.
So I'm going to take a moment. As I was flying out this morning, I wrote a bunch of notes on 5 pieces of paper here. It's going to be way more than you guys want to hear about, but I do want to mention a couple things. First, as I look out over this audience, what a beautiful sight. Those of you wonderful women in the saris, that's a wonderful, beautiful, colorful thing. The men, you all look like me. We got to step up. We got to look better than this, don't we? And as I look out, I've been looking at the sign at the back there, the National Indian American. That is a beautiful thing. Because you are proud to be Hindu, you are proud of your Indian heritage, just like I'm proud to be Mormon, to be LDS from Salt Lake City. But we are all Americans. That's the thing that we love and do. And it turns out that we want to protect that, which is also why we're here today. And there's a threat, and there's emerging threats, and there's real threats, and there's some pretend threats that people talk about, but there's nothing more important than this thing we have here today with the growing threat of China. My perspective on this would be slightly different than many of the distinguished people sitting behind me. That is, I come out as a conversation from Washington, D.C. It's part. Is that a lot better? Yeah. All right, I'm going to start all over again. Right?
Go ahead.
Okay. A slightly different perspective. I actually had a meeting this morning. I won't say I was with this week, a very senior minister from China. Again, I don't want to identify her because it's a private conversation, but you know what? She was angry. She was angry at President Trump. She was angry at me, by extension, many of the Republicans, and those of us who are willing to say, you have lied and cheated and stealed from us for a long time. And we shouldn't be doing it anymore. Some of our policies have been fairly naive. And I didn't say that to her, of course. But she wanted me to approach the president and try to change his mind on some things. I just couldn't do that. From a military perspective, you don't know anything about me. I'm a former Air Force pilot. I proudly wear these leans. My new friend Steve behind me, the general behind me.
He's just being modest. Not only that, he holds a record of the fastest around the globe in an Air Force plane. Is correct?
Wow. Fastest non-stop flight around the world. Yep. I actually hold 3 world records, but that's one of them. But which I promise you, my time flying was a lot more fun than being in Congress. I used to be up flying. I go, I can't believe they pay me to do this. And I have never felt that way since I've been elected. But from a military perspective, and recognizing that China isn't an emerging threat, they are a present-day threat. In many ways, they are our peer. We have this perception that they're near peers or something less than that. It's not true anymore. And when you consider the aggression that they've been willing to show, whether it's from the South China Sea, or as Mr. Gaffney said, the Belt Road Initiative, go to Djibouti in North Africa and see what their intentions are there. Go to many places in Asia, as I've had the opportunity to do more recently, South America as well. And so whether it's you're talking strategically or diplomatically or militarily or from an intelligence perspective, I sit on the House Intelligence Committee as well. 2 things I want to mention that haven't been mentioned today, and I think they're worth at least highlighting. One of them is the repressive nature of this government and their incredible sophistication in controlling their own people. Something like 3 million Uyghurs in the western portion of the country who we know are in concentration camps, but there's, I think, a better example of how that can expand as they expand their safe cities and as they partner with some other nations and cities to bring that type of surveillance and repression home. A friend of mine that works in San Francisco, he works in IT. He was driving to work. He noticed that one of the interns, she's from China, she's a student here on a student visa, she was walking all the time. And so at the office one day he said, hey, look, you know, I drive by you, I'm coming from the same place, I'd be happy to give you a ride. She says, no, I can't do that. And he asked, why not? And she pointed to her Fitbit and she said, because if I don't get my steps, They know that back home, and they'll withdraw my student visa because I'm required to walk a certain number of steps every day. Now imagine that. She's a student halfway around the world, and she knows she's being monitored back home whether she's completing her steps. We had a demonstration where you could take an individual and without any knowledge at all who they were, put him in a Chinese city, and within 7 minutes, they were able to identify him and apprehend him out of more than a billion people, as you know, within 7 minutes, with their technology of facial recognition that is on millions and millions of cameras throughout almost every major city, and in a few years throughout virtually every foot of China. Last thing I'll share with you. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I had a chance to sit down with President Xi. I was a member of a congressional delegation. There were 4 or 5 of us, some senators and some congressmen. And I had a chance to talk to him about this thing called the Thucydides trap. I'm sure you guys are familiar with it, which says if you have an emerging nation and then an established nation, they will always come into conflict. And when you look at that over the last 500 years, about 80% of the time it's true. And I asked President Xi, I said, do you believe that? Do you think it's inevitable that the U.S. and that China would come into conflict, or can we avoid this? And he said, oh, no, of course we can avoid that. It's not inevitable at all. You had your sphere, we have our sphere, we have mutual interests, we can work our way through the challenges. And that was his reply. I had a chance to meet with him more recently, within the last year, and I reminded him of this conversation and asked him, do you still believe that? And you know what his response was this time? It was, well, we will see. Something different. Look, the Chinese people are good people. We don't want to oppress or in any way hold them down, but their government does. And their government has been stealing and cheating from us and do it to their benefit. It's nonsense for us to allow that to continue. That's what many of us are about here today. Shali, thank you so much for the invitation. It's an honor to be with you.